All right, today is what, December the 22nd. We are talking about an Ask Me Anything for zipForm. Some questions will possibly come in about DocuSign, and we're not going to really talk about Instinet today. We're just going to stick to zipForm and DocuSign. So I did ask for questions ahead of time, and I had a few that were repetitive. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that. The first one that was repeated over and over was the sharing of transactions. I had some agents that would like to share transactions with other agents. And there's many different scenarios, millions of different scenarios, and millions of different ways to do that. So let's go to the most common question is, I have an assistant that needs access. So if your assistant is a licensed assistant and they're here at Real Estate One with their license and they're a practicing realtor, then both of your names have to be on the agency disclosure for you to share everything back and forth. Same thing goes for a team. A lot of times I'll have like a team leader that'll say, I need access to all of my buyer's agents' files. Well, that's not necessarily how it can work. That's license law, that's basics. We all know that. Just because you're the team lead doesn't mean that you're named legally on all of their documents when they're filling out their agency disclosures and their contracts. So that's something that you really need to discuss with a manager before it even gets to me. So let's put that out there first. Secondly, co-listing. This is the one that I had come through 3 times actually in the comments. And hey, I got this listing. I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing. I want this experienced agent to co-list it with me. How do we do this? Well, in that instance, it's absolutely possible. You're both named on the agency disclosures, just like we talked about a minute ago. And in that case, you have one lead individual. So one person owns the transaction. And then you have the support individual that can go in and it's shared with them. So they don't have full access. They couldn't send for DocuSign signatures, but they can go into the file and they can see what's going on. They can help you fill out documents. So I'm going to show you that right now. I'm in here. And where is that transaction I had? There it is at the front here. So this is Main Street. I'm going to go ahead and share this with another agent. I've gone in and I've filled out a lot of the information, and now it's time to pull in this other agent. So I go to the Parties tab. I've got myself listed, and I've got, I've got this other agent that I want to share with. My name again, but that's okay. I would go ahead. If you don't already have that agent in here, in your Parties tab, you can scroll to the bottom. This is the person that owns the transaction. Now you scroll to the bottom, you add other, and you fill out their name and their email address at a minimum. You should ask them what email address they use for their zipForm. That is the easiest way to accomplish it. Once you get them registered in here, you can hit share. And right here, create share. I'm going to select myself from the list. You would do the same. Select whoever you're sharing with from the list. Done. Now it gives me options. Do you want this person to be able to fill out the ZFX documents? So those documents that are in zipForm that are fillable by you, do you want that person to be able to fill out those documents or edit those documents? Yes or no, on or off. Do you want them to be able to upload documents? So say the agent gets a piece of information that is necessary in the file. Do you want them to be able to upload that? Yes, you certainly do. Do you want them to be able to see the history? Yes, you want them to be able to see when things are signed, when things happen within the transaction. And you can also select how long you're going to share this transaction with them. So it's defaults to about a month. You can put it out as far as you want. And you hit next. From there, you say what documents are you sharing with them? If you just click document, that's all the documents, all the existing documents. When you add documents to the transaction, you go in here and you just add, you select that button again so that all documents are shared. Here is our shared transaction. Send. All right, so that invitation was sent to me. I'm going to flip over to my email real quick and pull that up so you can see what it looks like. So this is the receiving agent. This is the B agent or the support agent. Received this in the email saying, hey, you have been asked to collaborate on this deal with this other agent. So I can click on view documents right from that notification. And I will log in as the agent that is being shared with. And the first time I log in, this is where I lose people occasionally. The first time I log in, it takes me directly into that transaction because we clicked on that link. It's hard coded straight to those documents that were shared with me. So when I come in here, I can see, yep, this is the owner of the transaction. These are all the things that they said that I could do within those permissions. If I scroll down, I see all the documents that were in there. These are the zipForm documents. So if I open this cover sheet, since we said yes to edit, you can see that the agent could go in here and, add an MLS number, and it will share over between, both sides. It's a live transaction. What you don't see though is an e-sign button or a button to add more documents to the transaction. More zipForm documents to the transaction. You can upload PDFs from wherever you normally would upload your PDFs. So when I go out of there, though, I don't see this transaction because normally it's my transactions, right? That's where you default to, my transactions. So when I just log into zipForm, I'm not going to see that, what was it, 4567 Main Street or 467, that drop down right there under my transactions, go shared with me. And there it is. So anything that you are sharing with another agent, you have to go fetch under the shared with me section. And you click on that, then you can go right back into where you were. So that is how you share a transaction with another agent. So did anybody have any questions about that one? No? Okay. So let's go into, we're going to stay in this account. And I'm going to find something that has a few PDFs because the next question was, can I strike a line? Oh, in DocuSign. They're asking if they can strike a line in DocuSign to be thicker or bigger. Need it to go in a diagonal way. So let's start with the PDF edit tool that's actually in zipForm. We have that existing as well. When you open up a document, a PDF document. I opened a really big one, but that's okay. See this edit button right here? I can select that. And I have two choices. I can use a text box. So I could add a text box really anywhere on this document. I can go ahead and type in there and type what I want. From there, so that's how you would edit a PDF. And I want to strike something out, I would click on strike out, and then I can place this wherever I want it. So this person though was asking, they want to make it like a diagonal. I assume like sellers never lived in property, something like that. That's a something that we can look at in DocuSign, but I do believe everything is linear straight lines. I'm not sure that we've got the capability of doing like a X sort of thing. So let's cancel out of this edit. We can certainly, oops. You want to save changes? I do not want to save changes. Now, if this agent possibly could have been asking, say there's something in an actual see the ZFX, that means it's an editable zipForm document. Maybe they're talking about the strike through here. I'm not sure that they were though. I think what they meant was that. Click, highlight text and then strike it out. So if there's a document that you're using that doesn't 100% really comply with the maybe addendum that you're writing or something, you can select text and strike it out that way. If there's something you really want them to read, you can say, let's highlight that text. So there's, in this little more section here, there's some other things that you can actually do. Undo what I've done, undo, it's not undoing. The lookup field manager, that's kind of interesting. I'm just going to hang out in this little more section for a moment. A lot of times people will type in here something wrong. Say you put the Michigan wrong, Michigan, something like that. And it just keeps coming up and you can't get rid of it. Every time you go to type something in a field, this wrong type comes up. If you look up field manager, if you kind of go there, you can see, oh, these are all the things that I have typed in this field. I can go and clear it and start new so that those suggestions go away. So if you've got some weird thing showing up in any field, you could clear it by going through that field lookup manager. So the clause manager, that varies usually by region, by MLS, by Office occasionally. And I'm not going to really spend a lot of time on that, but if your MLS offers specific clauses to be used, they can be found there. There are a few globe clauses. There's a prorations and wall mount addendum. That's actually an addendum that we have in all libraries now, the wall mount addendum, but it started as just a clause that you could kind of pull into any addendum. All right, so let's back out of here and let's get back to the list.
Maureen, can you add your own clauses?
Yes. There's personal clause manager there too.
Is there? Okay. All right. Thanks.
Oops, I went in the wrong document. Sorry. I'm going to pull in an addendum so you guys can see. If you wanted to talk about that clause manager for a second, we can. Let's go here. You get the full effect of it if you go into, say, an addendum like this and see this little edit button, that tablet right there that you're seeing on the left, that brings up the clause manager. So you can have the broker-wide ones or the personal ones. You can go ahead in and, sometimes I've seen people like with prepaid language, certain lenders like certain language for, closing costs, that kind of thing, concessions. You can go in there and add your clause so that, say, I want to, clearly I was very detailed in, demonstrating that with the hello, text clause. But if I hit insert, it will pull it in straight from there. So clause manager, it can be accessed from either space. Go to personal clauses. This is how you would add a new one, Sandy.
Well,
just go new.
Will that save in templates too? Is it tied to the templates?
That's a great question. Let's go in and look. Let's mess with one of Scott's templates. I'll pull in another addendum. See if we can't access it from there. Yep. So if you created it from the other space, oh, actually you could create it from here too because it shows up here. So you could create that clause from either space, from within an active transaction or from within a template, and you could, just have it then pulled into your template for use all the time. If that's what your removal of contingency, if that's what your aim is, you can have this addendum there ready with language, pre-baked language that you want to use all the time.
Cool, thanks.
Yep. So it would be that language be available in the template or within the transaction, both places you can pull it in. I should probably take that back out of Scott's transaction.
I'll leave it in there.
Or his template. He uses this account for testing too, and I don't want to mess him up. So delete. Okay, so I've put your template back the way it was, Scott. The next question that I had was, how do you split a document? Let's go back into that same document that we've been kind of messing in, that 25-page document right here. So we've already established the edit button is here, and we know what that does. We've got a more button here as well, which is interesting. I think that's a new addition. Oh, you can attach it to a task, fill a placeholder, open in a new window. This open in a new window, that little icon right there, whenever you see that on a PDF, you can open multiple PDFs at one time. So if you're looking for information from one PDF to type in another, or to just reference back and forth, maybe differences, you can do the new window on both of the documents and they will come up simultaneously. So let's go to right here, split and rotate. If you've got that bulk document and you want to split it into many documents, you hit that split. You have some options once you get in here as well. This utility was recently updated last week with their update, actually. If you wanted to split this, you could hit add split. And you can split many documents at once. You can see the documents each have a page number in the upper right as you scroll through. It doesn't matter, say page 1 through 5 of the purchase agreement, and then whatever, page 6. It doesn't, start over like our documents start over. So this is a cumulative number in the upper right. So I have some choices of how to name this document. I can just type in, NOBA, because that's what most of you call this document that's sitting here, or you can choose it from the list. So this is a Ann Arbor board document. Let's go REOAA. This is kind of the long way. Takes a while. There's Spire Agency. You can do it that way. Or you can go here and fill a placeholder. If this is something that you're expected to have and your office uses placeholders, you could select the placeholder by name. It will automatically rename it and fill the placeholder and split it all at once. So that's helpful. And how many pages? You just want this page, whatever, one page. That's all I want is page 1. So I could attach it to a task here. I could add a description there if I wish, or I could just go to the next page and say, okay, that was page 1. What's page 2? So 2 through 6 should be by purchase agreement. I can choose standard name. Again, this is the long way. It's best if you're using it this way. My guess is that you're either going to type in a name, or you're going to pick a placeholder if your office uses placeholders in their transaction templates. I think the transaction template placeholders, when you're splitting documents, it is by far the easiest way to go. So 2 through 6, And then you could go on and on and on if you wish to choose. If you just want to split a couple docs like that, say, okay, save it. And then when you scroll down, it retains the original document with the all 25 page, but it also adds what you've split out. It adds the name. So if I would have just wrote NOBA in that space, it would say NOBA or PA for instead of sales contract, instead of picking from a list. So that's how you split a document. From that same menu, you can rotate a document. So sometimes when they come in from your scanner, they're a little bit wonky. You go there and you can just rotate, rotate, rotate. When you get it the way you want it, you hit save. So let's go on to the next thing. The next thing we're going to talk about is templates, and it's personal templates. I believe that there are infinite uses for templates. Office templates, in my opinion, should be used for the documents. The office templates are maintained by the admin of each office, and as new things are added and subtracted of the libraries, they're notified. So, say the COVID addendum gets added to the library, everybody gets the notification. Agents don't necessarily go into their template and remember, let me update my template so that I've got the COVID addendum every time I do a new deal. Whereas the office can add it to the office template. That way the agents don't have to worry about it. In my opinion, agent templates should be used for your personal information, your name, your phone number, your office address, your broker name, your broker's email address. All of that stuff should be in your template, and it should be automatically applied to every transaction you do, so you never have to type that again. That's one use for your personal templates. You should have that template applied to if you always sell residential and condos, list side by side, then that would be 4 templates. I will show you how to do one and copy it to all 4. That is one use for personal templates. I've got a few here. I was asked about an insightful calendar for managing contingencies, and that also can be accomplished through personal templates. If you build it once and auto apply it to your transactions, you say you write a similar offer whenever you write for a buyer. So maybe you say, okay, within 10 days, let's have the contractor's inspection done and remove that contingency or renegotiate, whatever you're going to do. We're going to do a new, say, purchase or offer template. I'm going to go ahead and build one right now. I want the scope to be personal. I want it to be a residential template. It's my personal, by side. And I've got caps on, but that's okay, because I'm the only one that's going to see it anyway. I do want to automatically apply this template because I never want to have to type this information again. I'm going to save it in my templates. It's going to open up. Now it defaults to, zipForm just defaults to, opening this up in documents because it's kind of the most common place for, people to, or most common reason to create a template. But let's think outside the box and go to parties. This is buy side. So we're going to go down here and we're going to say selling agent and broker. Now I have done hundreds of transactions, maybe thousands, depending on who you are, in zipForm. So if you notice on your contact cards, it automatically has a checkbox next to save your contacts. So I'm going to go look in my address book for myself and see what I've got. Oh, I've got 3. All right, so let's try that one and see. I think that one has the most correct information. There it is. There's my license number. There's my ID. There's all my phone numbers and everything. Oh, look, there's my broker information. So I have filled this out completely 100 times and I've saved it. So yes, I have my own information already in there. So if I save this to this personal template that's going to automatically apply to every single transaction, I haven't even typed it once because I've already saved it a bunch of times over. So we've already accomplished one of those things on this list. And then the checklist is where I'm going with those contingency managements. So we're in checklist right now. And what we can do is, all right, we're going to add a buy side. My goodness. Buyer checklist. We'll hit save. Now it's going to say, okay, what are we going to do? Let's start creating tasks for this checklist. My first task, now you're going to set this up once and it's just going to auto apply to every buy side transaction. So yeah, it's going to take you maybe a half hour to get it started, and then it's going to auto populate from there. Let's say contractors inspection. We want this as a relative date. So I want it done within 10 days after offer acceptance date. What this is going to do, once you get an accepted offer, you add that offer or that date that you have that bottom line on your summary screen of your transaction. And now all of this, anything to do with the notifications and the calendar entries for this contractor's inspection is going to feed off of that date. So you've now created a reminder. Do I want to notify myself of this? Yes, I'm going to be responsible for this. So it's going to be me, the selling agent. That right there, as long as my notifications are turned on, I am now going to get a notification 2 days in advance, the day of, and 2 days after this is due. Once you hit that it's done, completed, check mark, you'll stop getting notifications for it. So there's contractor's inspection. Is it required? Usually. I can modify it just by opening it back up. So is this required? Yeah, let's say. Notify the responsible party. Yep. Uh-oh, won't let me. There we go. I was clicking too many times. So then you can move on. Say EMD within.
I said
that toggle switch.
Yeah, it's been really sensitive.
Okay. So the next thing, whatever you normally need on your calendar and you want to be reminded of, that's what you enter in these tasks. So, deposit EMD within 2 days. You could assign your buyer a task of applying formally with their lender within, 5 days. You can assign other people tasks. So not just yourself. It can be a reviewer. It can be your title company. If you have, your capital title rep, if you have them in, just like you put yourself under the parties tab, you could have your title rep under that parties tab, and you could assign them certain tasks. Whatever your contingencies are that you're tracking, you can assign it to anybody who has been made a party to the transaction. So let's go on to the next thing. If you would like for me to touch more on those checklist templates, we certainly could. But I was asked, along with this, adding a third party to a transaction. So they want to add, say, their assistant, they want to add contacts for third parties. So I'm back in the parties section of this template, and the baked in, options are buyer 1, 2, 3, all the way. The 3 and 4 are informational, and I will get to that question next. Listing agent, buyer's agent, we've already filled out. So we've got the buyer's lender, the seller's lender, all this information, but nowhere here does it say assistant or staff or coordinator. That's where you go to add other. And over here in category, you could start creating your own categories. So see down here, you can see I have realtor in there, buyer, client, coordinator. You can add anybody under other, and when it applies to your transaction, whether you've done this in the transaction or you've done it in the template, if you do it in a template, you're going to want to make sure it's for every transaction that you create. Either way, that person will then start to show up in the parties. So if you're sending out for signatures or if you're sending an email, they'll then be in your list of options of who to select and who you can send to. So I had another question about workflow. That kind of is akin to this checklist item. I think this was a newer agent or an agent newer to zipForm. I'll read the question. In order to make zipForm more user-friendly, can they put a drop menu or some kind of prompting for the next steps when entering the first transaction, getting signatures, things like that, so you don't forget a step and get stuck in a loop? I did that the first 2 times I used it. I don't think it's user-friendly for anyone not tech savvy, including anyone over 55. So that was her exact words. After you use it a few times, I think you'll get past that. It is the same workflow as if you had a stack of papers. You fill out the forms, you get your signatures, you coordinate with the other side of the deal, you send them their documents. It's the same workflow, whether you have a stack of papers and you're using a fax machine or email or digital. So we can define a workflow in the checklists here within zipForm, if that's how you'd like to do it. Sandy, do you have something to add to that?
So I have what we call a transaction checklist that, you can go through and you can make sure you have all your documents. So obviously the first thing is your agency disclosures, your exclusive buyer agency, all that stuff. But it's a checklist that shows what you're going to need to complete that transaction paperwork wise. So I don't know if that's something that can be shared if, people want to upload it into their templates. So they have, something in their hand so they can make sure that they have all that.
Each office at some point has had that sort of a checklist.
Yeah.
And you're right. I'm not sure that it's always been shared with the agents, but it's kind of been the backside, the admin side to kind of go down and, check off all your little documents and make sure everybody's signed and dated. So I think you're right. I think it would be helpful.
I also have a buyer checklist
if it were shared.
Seller checklist too, that kind of says, buyer information. Did you have them sign this? Did you schedule the inspections? Did you schedule, so probably that might be more what they're looking for too. But I'll share it. I'll have Jeff share it.
That would be very helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Sandy. So let me get out my list here again of questions. This is another repeat. How do I file transactions? So there's 2. This is kind of a 2-step question. I've had both questions and they're kind of related. So the company policy on transaction retention is this. When it's your listing and you've sent documents, everybody's signed, you've got this property for sale, you get in an offer, the offer's going great, then it goes south. Now you have a fall through, but you still have this listing. So you don't want to cancel or mark this transaction as fell through. It's a file or a folder within that transaction for that specific buyer. You can write deal off, their last name, even their agent's last name. But please make it identifiable. So if there is an audit later on, then we can identify which is the deal off folder, which are the documents that no longer exist. You're certainly welcome to put that folder within the archive file. Every single transaction has automatically an archive file that is created. So you could certainly file it in there as long as it's searchable to those that would would be performing an audit. We need to be able to find it. Now, on the flip side, the buy side, this is what nobody likes to hear. Every time you write a new offer, you need a new transaction. So that is company policy. It doesn't matter if it was not accepted. It doesn't matter if the seller didn't even respond to your offer. If you've written an offer and you have presented that offer to your own buyer, with their intention of submitting that offer, it needs to be saved. So let me flip over to transactions here. In that case, say we've got this offer on 318 North Arbor. It went absolutely nowhere. There's like 10 offers on this property. We're not getting anywhere with it. So I start a new one. I could start a new transaction and I can start fresh from there with that buyer. Or we can kind of cheat it a little bit and go from here and hit copy. So now you're going to need the new property information. And depending on what's in this transaction, what are you going to bring over? You're not necessarily going to want all of the PDFs. You're just going to want your agency and such. So you could say, yeah, let's have the forms. I don't want the data though. So just bring me over the forms and I'll tell it later to bring which PDFs to bring over. Yeah, I spelled that wrong too. I'm good at spelling things wrong. So when I start that new transaction, I basically copied just the nothingness, the buyer's information. That's even a listing transaction, so should be a buyer. So say I have these documents in here, I select my agency disclosure and we're going to pretend like this is the buyer broker agreement. And where does it say copy? Did they move that on me? Oh, move. So you can move it. There used to be a copy feature where I could copy it. And I'm not seeing it. They did have an update last week, so possibly it's somewhere that I'm not thinking. Let's say move. No, it just wants to move within a transaction. I'm going to have to get back to everybody on that because there used to be a copy. Can we save? Nope. When you would hit the copy button, it would bring up a utility for your other transactions and you could move documents between transactions. I'm not liking it that it's not there anymore. So I'm going to write that down. Pardon my interruption for a moment. So in that case, you could have pulled over the PDFs at the time that you copied the transaction. You would delete the ones that you no longer need. That would be the way around it. However, I do feel like that copy was a lot more efficient.
Hey, Maureen.
Copying documents from one transaction to the next. Yeah.
Go back in there and go click on the document because mine popped up.
For a copy?
Yep.
Oops, not checklist.
There. That's weird.
I don't see it.
Oh,
it's very weird.
I'm in a transaction right now and I just went into like sign docs, let's say, and I just hit copy or checked it and copy popped up.
That's bizarre. I wonder why. Here, let me make the screen bigger. Is it
that
there?
That could be mine too. Scroll over.
It definitely truncates.
It's in between preview. It should be in between preview and.
Don't see it.
Yeah, mine's in between preview and archive.
Nope, I don't have that option. I don't know why. That's bizarre that you would have it and I wouldn't.
So click on one of those. No, that's weird.
It's not there anymore. It's very weird. I think that's a more useful feature than
It is.
many of these other things that are showing here, especially preview. I can see admins using preview, but agents don't really use the preview too much. While we're here, and I'm thinking about it, if you click that, am I? I don't know, maybe
to
not.
copy?
That's not something that we grant approval for. It's just in everyone's account. Isn't that funny?
That is funny.
So I can kind of open more than one at a time. What happened to those PDFs? Stacking them. Here it is. So that's what I talked about earlier. You can open more than one PDF at a time and not in the same window, because a lot of times they'll stack them, within that same browser window. You can do them separately. So the copy feature is not there, but there's a million ways that you can move documents around without downloading them and re-uploading them. That's my whole point here. We want to be more efficient, not less efficient. Don't clog up your hard drive with everything that zipForm is already housing for you. So let me get back to my, where was I going with the document transactions. Yeah, you definitely, when it's a buyer and you have more than one offer, or you've written more than one offer, you definitely need more than one transaction. Now, this other question came in with, how do I organize multiple offers on a listing? Now that is even more fun, because there's actually a utility for that. And if you're a tech savvy agent and you've seen certain companies have the feature where all offers must be submitted by this link, and there'll be a URL in the agent comments within the MLS. So you have a property that's bank owned, whatever, you're going to get a bunch of offers on it. You can use this. It's called Offer Place. That's what it's called. And if you want to use it, I do have a video on it. I did training on it quite a long time ago while it was in development. And if you would like to use it, I will gladly activate it in your account. It offers a separate space for these offers as they come in. You're notified of each offer. The submitting agent or the buyer's agent is required to fill out a short survey. So how much are you offering? Are you asking for concessions? What's your name? How do we contact you? Just kind of basics. But they are definitely organized in a way that you can go apples to apples with this information that they collect. The offer, all the documents, PDFs are there, and you can accept, reject, put things on hold. It's a whole system within this system on how to manage multiple offers. So if you're not ready for that, and you want to manage it on your own, you should have a folder system. So in this transaction, you would have, say, your signed listing documents folder. You would have a, offer 1 and maybe the buyer last name and the agent's last name, buyer 2 with their last name and the agent's last name. You can use the notes feature within the transaction if you wanted to maybe log some things of when you get each offer. Those notes are here for your use. You can log anything that you want. You can send those notes anywhere. You can save them. Realistically, when it's a multiple offer situation, folders is the way you want to kind of go about it. And you can put notes on folders too. You can put notes on any of these. See where it says comments? If I go back into this transaction, say we do have multiple offers and there's just something that you want to remember, or say you want to, did they take that feature away? Where did that go? I'm finding all kinds of things that they changed. You used to be able to put a note right on the corner of one of these folders. No, you can't anymore. Isn't that something? So I would definitely use the notes feature within the transaction. If there's anything that you want to notate, you can always upload PDFs too. Sandy, yes, there are reports within the system. For you, you have a different access than most people, actually.
Please show me.
Sure.
I've been going nuts.
You need to be in your admin login.
Yeah, I know.
You need to be in your admin login to do it. Okay. So I thought I was in my admin login on this one. Nope. There, we're on admin on this one. I'll show you real quick.
But would agents have the capability themselves too, if they wanted to see?
That's what the dashboard is for agents. And of course,
Okay,
it's
got
not going to look like that for dashboard. It will have your upcoming stuff. I've clicked too many times. So this is what the dashboard for an admin looks like. It looks very different for the admin versus for the agent. You're not seeing?
Hold on.
Okay. I thought I could pull it that way. When I come back to my office, I'll come in and talk to you about reports, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Oh, now I see it.
Get back to that other one. All right, so I'm in as an agent. Let's go to dashboard. Should be able to see if there's anything coming. The dashboard has changed a little bit for agents, and if you are in an office that is all in and using zipForm for review process, then when something is rejected, if you visit your dashboard, that's kind of how you can get back to those items at a glance. You can see what's been rejected or not approved by document and also by transaction. And then if you wanted to see that task list, as we set up those checklists, you can see your task list here. If I had anything on my calendar that was due this week, it would show up there. I don't. But there's your pendings, there's your actives, and things that you've asked for review on. That's kind of at the bottom. That's more featured for the admins. And this is Sandy. If you wanted to be logged in as the agent, you want to see what you've got. As long as you have logged the closing date in that summary page, then it will show here.
That was going to be my question. So,
oh, this is how an agent can run that report. I forgot. It goes there.
But where's
these are the reports that you can run.
Oh.
So
well,
see what you closed this year.
But can you print? Do you have the capability of printing reports?
You can export them, I believe. Let's look. I probably haven't closed anything in this because it's, a test. So it's not going to do anything for us. Let's see. Let's see. I probably have some pendings in there. There we go. I have one. You can export it as an Excel file, and you can print it from there. But if you actually had closings, you could find them through here. And how I found that was I clicked over here on closings this month. I didn't have any, but then I could find my other reports. Okay. See what fell through this year. If I run a report, I got none. Again, this is a test account, so it's void of some information. But yeah, we'll talk later and test it out for a couple
And
of your
do you
accounts and
think,
see what
you
we
know,
can
you keep
find.
mentioning the summary page. Is it better to enter the information on the summary page or the broker?
Broker demand.
Yes, thank you.
So the broker demand is more complete, right? It has more information,
Right.
and whatever you enter on the broker demand is going to share to the summary page. So it depends where you are in the transaction and what are you trying to accomplish. Okay, so if you're starting a new transaction and you're just getting as much information in there as you possibly can, then fill out your broker demand and let it share over to your summary page. Fill it out. Now, if you're starting this transaction, but you've really started it on paper and you wrote an offer on the fly and you just need to get EMD, fill out your summary page and get it done and fill in the blanks later.
Okay.
Basically, that's a good tip actually for EMD with Deposit Express. I had 0 questions about Deposit Express, so
all I know is
I think that's good.
Do it and then get out.
I think everyone's pretty educated. Yes, do it and get out. I think we're all pretty educated on it. We've been using it for quite some time now, and I think COVID has forced everyone, that will ever use it to use it by now. So it's not a bad thing. COVID is, it's helped us in a few ways. I will give you a few notes here. Say we started this transaction on paper. We're on the fly. We're just getting it done. I realize that's how a lot of business happens. So you could pull in your property data from MLS Connect. That's probably your best way now that it's going to be available for the Ann Arbor region and my RealSource and RealComp users. It's not yet available in Northwest Michigan. Definitely is on the to-do list. We have asked for it up in that region, but it's something that is it's actually negotiated between Lone Wolf or zipForm and the MLS directly. We don't, we can just kind of say help, but we can't do it for them or we would have already done it. But what you do is you go in here, you put your MLS username, password, and you put in your, oh, look at that. We've got some MLS numbers. That's a RealComp number. See if I have a RealComp ID in here. See if we can find it. Yeah, invalid login. Let's see real quick. If you've never used MLS Connect, you can check that. I think this one will come through. Even though it's a RealComp or a my RealSource number. Oh, that's a Jackson number, actually. So I could pull in that information for that listing. Again, we're doing this on the fly. We just want to get information in here so we can get our deposit done. What was your offer? It's helpful to put, what your acceptance date was. Say we accepted it yesterday. And this initial deposit space. I cannot stress enough a million times over. Put your amount. I don't care if this is your first deposit or your 20th deposit. Put the amount in this spot before you click on the EMD button. I would guess the overwhelming majority of times when I get the notice that an agent says, my client says there's nothing there. They click, they create the account, they go there and it says it's asking for a shared key, or if the agent shared something with you, it would be in this space. They just say it's blank. And this is why. We do have a few purchase agreements within the company that will have like initial deposit amount, and then they'll say, after such and such happens, so maybe after the appraisal, then the additional EMD is this much. And agents will put in like dashes or 3 dots or something in that initial deposit space. And this right here, since Deposit Express feeds off of this number right here, when it only knows numbers. So when it sees dashes or it sees ... it can't read it. and you don't know that it's there because this space only reads actual numbers. So you can't see that it's there, but Deposit Express sees it on their end and they say, whoa, this is not legit. We are not letting this happen. So they don't let the client see the transaction. And then the agent says, oh, I will go ahead and put that in there. So they come back in, they put the amount in there, and then they resend it off. Well, you skipped a spot. You skipped the fact that you have to go in and delete the share. You have to delete that first request. Otherwise, you're just sending a broken link over and over and over, and you're never going to get anywhere. They're going to get mad. You're going to get mad, and it's not going to be good. So don't do that. When you go in here, let's see if we already have one existing. No, I'll go do it. Hold on. So you would hit EMD. We're 5 minutes after. I apologize if you got to drop off. You got to drop off. I'm fine with that. I'm planning on being here another 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how long it takes us to get through the rest of these questions and if we have anything burning. I do see some other questions that have come through, so I will get to those. So we've got all of this information. Yeah, that's my, okay, so I'll go ahead and send that. Everything was in there, so I sent it. And now my buyer is saying, oh, for some reason, it's blank. I can't do it. Me as the agent or the admin or the help desk or me as me, I can go in here and say, all right, Janet Smith, we're deleting this share. So when you hit that and delete share, I'll go back and show you where it was again, because I know I click fast and I apologize. I went into parties, I clicked on share. When you hit that Deposit Express button and send the request, that's what it does. It shares this transaction with the client so they can link in and make their deposit. And that Janet Smith, her name was right here. I clicked on her. I hit the red button that says delete. Now I can go back to my summary page, make my corrections on this page, and resend. So that's the missing part that a lot of people aren't getting. They forget to go in there and hit delete on that share in order to reset it, because now we've deleted that old link and we're creating a new one when we click on EMD and send a fresh one. If that's the way we get past those. So the summary page feeds a lot of things. It doesn't just feed your documents and your master fields. It also feeds title orders. Once your office, not all offices are on board with Capital Title within zipForm yet. Once your office is on board, information contained in this summary screen, some of it actually shares to Capital Title. So they get notified if there's maybe if there's a closing date change, or if there is a change in price on this summary screen, they get a notification. They start looking for documentation to follow up with those changes that have been made. Also, the EMD, this summary screen feeds our integrations. If you were to send a lead over to John Adams, you would click that right there, that mortgage button. That information is fed. Let's go. We'll show you what it looks like. That information is fed again from your information that you've entered on your contact or your parties. The property info is pulled straight from that transaction summary page. You get to pick your client from here. Is it Janet or is it John? And then you get to pick your loan officer from here. So there's drop downs for some of the information. Specifically, only loan officer is independent of the transaction. All the rest of this information is fed from that transaction, and most of it can be managed from the summary screen or the parties tab. So before you even get into documents, a lot of information is useful here. All right, let's get back on track. I apologize for running over. We've done this. Emails. That's a good one. I've got somebody asking, how do we get our emails saved or archived into here? couple different ways. Everybody has a zipForm email address. So you may not realize it, but there's this this doc inbox. Oh, look at that. That offer place is actually in doc inbox. If I click on that, that's offer place right there. Ooh, don't do that. Oh, it's giving me that. So here's offer place. Look at that. Look at that. But let's get back on track. Doc inbox. If I go click on doc inbox and I click on documents, I can see my email address tied to my zipForm account is right here. If you attended my shortcut for zipForm DocuSign, that webinar a couple weeks ago, you would be familiar with this address because we use that as a shortcut on how to get documents straight from your email to go into your zipForm account without ever opening zipForm. And you do that by taking this address, saving it as a contact in your own email. So what you can do is, again, take this email address, you can copy and paste it in. So you have an email string that you want to come into your transactions or into your zipForm. You can copy that email address, go over to your email string, forward it on to this address, and it will pop in here as a PDF. There's another way also, and you can do it from the actual transaction. So if it's this transaction, this Stedman transaction, if I want to email something directly here, not only does each individual have an email address, each transaction has an email address. So this is a lot more difficult to track, I think, the transaction email addresses, because it changes with every transaction. If you're going to use your doc inbox and then file your documents once you get them, that's one thing. If you're going to send directly here, you're going to want to copy this email address, and forward in. And again, that will send two documents. It will be the body copy of the email itself and any attachments. So that's what you'll get if you use it that way. But that's two different ways. If you're in your doc inbox and you get some documents in that way, what do you do with it then? Hold on, it's giving me a spinner. There we go. Over here on the right, see where it says transactions? It'll be a PDF just hanging out here, and I could go over to my transactions and open up the folder system from within my transaction. I could click on that document or that PDF and drag it right into whichever folder that I want it to appear in. So in my opinion, I think Doc Inbox is easier to use because it's one email address. The next time you log into zipForm, then you can file what you need to file where it needs to go. This simplifies that by having your transaction list readily available. But if you know that, say you're closing on this transaction, you're archiving everything all at once, you can go ahead and copy that transaction email address so that it goes straight into there. Let's see, let's get to, this is the one I've kind of been, I don't want to say avoiding, but it's a popular request and there's no easy way around it. And it is the more than 2 buyers or sellers for DocuSign. So in zipForm, you see that there is parties for up to 4 on each transaction side. However, if you fill out all 4 of these, you're still only going to get buyer 1 and buyer 2 in any of, or seller 1 and seller 2, in any of the templates for the documents going from one system to the other, because that's all there is. There's only space for 2. Now, we do have the signing representative option. It is available in here. So say one person is signing for multiple people, then you could, or signing for a business or, some sort of a nonprofit, whatever. You put the actual person here and then the signer here. So whatever entity or whoever the actual client is, and then the person signing would go there. And when you send through DocuSign, you'll see both of that information. You'll see the person up here. You'll see their name, but the signer is the one that pulls in with the tagging. That is how it's been designed. When you have multiples, you stick with 2 here. You e-sign a document. Let's see if we can, oh boy. Lots of tests, lots of tests. Let's find something realistic here. How's there not a? Oh, it's right there. That's what I was looking for. Let's go next. I wondered if I had a DocuSign account on this test account. Looks like we do. All right, so we got Jason and Julie. We got 1 and 2. Now, signing order, I'm sure you're familiar with that. If you uncheck that box, everybody gets the email at the same time. If you leave it checked, then the order that you saw it on that screen, that's how they will get it, even if it's the same email address. If 4 people have one email address, the first person will get it. Once they're signing, the second one will come in, it'll call out the second person, and so on. So you could have the same email address for every party in a transaction, and you'll get separate emails for each one. So here we are. Let's scroll to the last page. Say I need a couple more. What can we do here? Can we add a line? Yeah, it's going to be a red line, but it'll be a line. Yeah, I thought we could make that bigger. Could add a line. Could add another line. These are all sellers. And you add a party by going here, edit recipients. I really don't have a better answer for you. I wish I did. I wish I did. The forms are static in that we have 2 spaces, 1 and 2. We don't have a way to make it dynamic, meaning we don't have a way to make it grow with the number of parties within the transaction. We're always looking for suggestions. I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it. I'm sure there have been very creative-minded people that have found a way around this. If you have, please speak up, because I get this question often, and I would love to be able to offer better advice to anybody. So Sandy, have you guys found any better way around this? I'll put your
One
name in
thing
here.
that I learned was that even though if you put in 4 people or 3 people and you go to have them sign a document, they're all not going to appear, just the first 2. So what we've been doing is basically, I don't create the line. Basically, I go back, add the other 2 after I get to this point, and then just put them on there.
Yeah, and you put them just randomly.
Yeah, I mean, like we try to keep it, you know, if it's sellers where the sellers are, or, you know, whatever. But you can't, but we do keep all the buyers in there, because if there's something that maybe just, or seller, if just one has to sign, then yes, you can go in, have that one sign, and or you know, or whatever.
And when you're sending email too.
Yes, but
for notification purposes, you need all of them in there.
Yeah, but you can't check all of them. You can't check more than 2 and expect them to appear and then expect them to get the email, because they're not getting that email to sign, is what we're finding.
Right.
So we manually have to add them when we get to this point. Not before. Similar
to what I just did, you would add them. So we're always, like I said, it's a growing product. We're always looking for suggestions. We're always trying to make it better. This is an age-old dilemma. How do we get 3 and 4 in there, especially when 3 and 4, that's what bothers people the most. When there's a space for 3 and 4 in zipForm, why can't we pull them over to DocuSign? So
Right.
that is,
Well, and the
that
other
is a
problem-
legit question. And
right.
we're still
The other
getting
thing
that
is, though, we're
answered.
seeing more and more of this. A couple years ago, it was rare that you saw more than 2 buyers or more than 2 sellers. But now you're seeing upwards of 3, 4. I've seen it with 6. But,
I probably get this question once a month, I would say, on my end. It makes it to my desk at least once a month. So I need to have a conversation, I think, with our forms designer and see what he recommends. And we probably need to run it past legal, honestly, our legal department, and see if it's worth having, at least the purchase agreements and this contract here, the
listing contract.
The listing contract.
Now, the listing contract
Right.
might not be as big of a deal because, well, I shouldn't say that. Because we've had it where one seller has signed, come to find out there's another seller, and then they just sign when the PA comes. But
got ya.
But there has to be a way, even if if zipForms recognized and said, oh, here's a third buyer, and then somehow just plug it in somewhere. Does it have to have a line?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole, that's the thing that I'm talking about, static versus dynamic. Yeah. Dynamic would grow with it. So, like in this instance where I've put in these red lines, yeah, they're red. Does it really matter? I don't know that it matters if they're red or not. Do they have to be there? Not necessarily, but I do think it's helpful to know who they are, and keep them on the seller's side if this were a purchase agreement, not just kind of randomly wherever. I mean, my husband and I literally just had this growing pain in Ohio. There was 6 of us total that owned a house together. So, my husband signed for all 6 of them, but he had to sign all 6 times. And it was, J. Peterson for J. Peterson, because they're all J's. But you do it. And it was like where the date field is here, they had crossed that out and wrote seller. And, so there was 4 lines there then, but then we still needed 2 more. But it's not unique to us, that's for sure. Everybody struggles with that one. So we'll keep looking, though, for answers. I'm going to go ahead and start reading the chat questions because I believe I have made it through everything that was pre-submitted to me. If you've sent something in that I skipped, it's probably because I've already reached out to you. And somebody did ask for OneDrive demo, and I don't have access to a OneDrive right now, so I can't do that live. Have the date auto added. When a document email from zipForm to a party, it goes to the other party. You've already lost me. Who is that one? Michael. If you're still on, did you want to talk about this? Because I'm not real sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it. When I send, let's say, a purchase agreement to the loan officer, let's say, it will go to him. And I'll also want to send it to myself, but it won't pop up in my Gmail in folder, and it just never happens. But I have to go to my sent folder and then transfer it over to have it go in there. And I was just wondering if there's something that could be done about that.
That's definitely a Gmail setting.
Is it? Okay.
You can add a rule so that it always shows in your inbox.
I always do a CC.
So the next time you get, do you have it copied to yourself? Is that how you do it, Michael?
Yeah, and that won't even do it that way. I tried it that way, and I tried it directly to myself as a party, and it doesn't work. So you're right, it must be a Gmail setting that I
Yeah.
need to change.
It's getting caught up in your Gmail somehow. I don't think it's going to spam, but it's probably going to like, what's that, updates one or something like that. There's different headers now. But yes, the next time you get one of those, click on it and create a rule right from that transaction or right from that email, and say always send to inbox, and then you'll start seeing them. I've had to do it myself a few times with different ones because Gmail is very finicky. You'll notice, like, especially I get all the Deposit Express notices. So and some of my mail is Gmail, it shares to both Outlook and Gmail. So when I go to all of my zipForm notifications, not one of the Deposit Express ones show up there. I had to actually force it to make them show up there. When I search for those messages, I find them, but I don't know where they go. So I just created a rule so that they always show up in this one specific folder where I want them to go. So Gmail is very finicky that way. It's in my mind, it's easier to tell it what to do than to try to figure out what it's doing on its own.
Okay. Thank you, Maureen.
That might not be a great answer, but it's an honest answer. What's the best way to bring a pre-signed agency into each deal? So, Gordon, you mean add a doc?
When you were talking about copying,
it's a PDF. You've got it on.
When you were talking about copying,
yeah.
When do you do it?
Say if you have it on your hard drive, I like to just drag and drop. I think that's the most efficient way to get things into the system here. Let me see if I can find a document real quick that I can pull over. Everything is backward. I have nothing on that desktop, do I? Nothing at all. I just need a document. Why can't I find a PDF when I want one, right? Everything's hidden behind this Zoom thing. There we are. All right, so I've got my documents here. Say it's on my hard drive. I open up this transaction. I think this is really the easiest way. If you have something saved, go to Documents, drop it in. If you use Outlook for your email, you can drag and drop directly from an email straight into a transaction. You don't have to download it to your hard drive first. It's direct drag and drop. Gmail, unfortunately, they're not quite there yet with Gmail, but they're improving all the time with that functionality. So in my opinion, yeah, you can select the add a doc button, that D+ add a doc. You can pull it in from anywhere, but if it's on your hard drive, drag and drop, I think is the quickest and the most reliable way to get it in.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. When an agent has a listing that the PAs and falters don't go under that listing, need to create a new file. So if it's a listing, Deborah, I don't think Deborah's still on. I think I lost her. I'll touch on that in the next admin meeting because she always comes to the admin calls. But yeah, when it's a listing, you can have one transaction. When it's a buy side, you have to have one transaction for every address. Report, Sandy, you and I can go over that as soon as I walk back to my office. When I send a document from zipForm to a party, it goes to the other party. We already talked about that. Just wondering if there are recordings of the other two sessions. zipForm, DocuSign, and capital title transfers of information from us instead of our admin? Janet, that is a fantastic question. I think I've already lost you for the day. I did get your message yesterday. And yes, there is a recording. All
here.
the office.
I am
You're
and
here.
I
There you
have
are.
been here the whole time. It's just you're like
That's
way over my head,
fantastic.
so I don't open my mouth until I make a or until I have a question that's at least reasonably sane. So I've been here the whole time.
It depends what you're looking for, zipForm and DocuSign. There's a million different kind of tutorials and utilities, and I could talk about this system all day long, and that's not fun for anybody, because I think after about 20 minutes, half hour, you got to move on to another topic. But I certainly have certain snippets of videos that I have recorded throughout time. I try to only do them in small sections because, they're outdated as soon as I hit publish. So things change often. And that's, progress is good, but stability is also good. We like it when things stay the same for a little while until we catch on. But the capital title thing, you are in Kayla's office, and I will make sure Kayla distributes that training for the capital title integration.
Do you know that Kayla is my granddaughter?
I adore Kayla. That is great news that Kayla is your granddaughter. She is fantastic. I rely on her for a lot.
Yep, she is.
Yes.
Let everybody know it's time for a raise.
Anytime I am given the opportunity to give Kayla praise, I certainly do, because I adore her.
Good. Yeah, she works hard. She used to come with me when she was little.
She sure does.
When she was little.
Did she really?
The lockbox, Grandma. I can just give it to me. I can do it. I'll show you. Yeah, she's a good.
She definitely does take things on and make them her own. She is a fantastic resource for our company. So I know we're at about an hour and a half, and that's way over the time that we had allotted. So it looks like everyone's dropping off by the 2s and 4s, but I thank you all for attending. I will have a recording. I'll post it to YouTube and send out the link. I know this is a lot of information. We can do calls however often they are warranted. So if there's any questions we did not get answered today, I will turn on that order or that submission form for questions. I'll turn that back on so that you can submit them that way. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a great holiday if that's what you do.
Yeah, you too.
Mm-hmm. Bye, everybody.
You could send me or Kayla the 2 sessions that I'm referring to, the most recent 2 that were, I believe, in November.
I will.
Thank you, dear. You take care. Don't you remember me and my DocuSign, pay-per-view DocuSign?
I remember you. We got you straightened out. No worries, Janet.
Yes, you did. You did. Like, how come only I got
Have a great one.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.